Hi, everyone, and welcome to Nutrition in the Brain, the role diet and nutrition play in the brain development, function, and mental health. Um, According to Rakeley and Gouznard in 2002, the brain is the most energy demanding organ in the human body. Despite accounting for only about 2% of the total body weight, it consumes approximately 20% of the body's total energy. What we eat significantly impacts the brain structure and neurotransmitter production. Cognitive performance, resilience, and ability to protect itself through neuroplasticity, mental health outcomes, and ultimately our ability to learn and process information. In this presentation, I'm going to be discussing the role of macronutrients in brain function, the impact of nutrition on neuroplasticity and cognitive performance, the connection between diet, mental health, and learning outcomes, and I'll conclude with some actionable dietary recommendations for optimal brain health. The first thing I'm going to discuss in this presentation is macronutrients. So, macronutrients are the main nutrients your body needs to function optimally. They are broken down into three main categories. Carbohydrates, they provide energy to the body in the form of sugars. More complex carbs are broken down into glucose, which is the simplest and most easily absorbed form of sugar the body uses. The next one I'm going to talk about is proteins. Proteins provide energy to the body, or proteins provide the building blocks and the structure of the body. They're broken down into amino acids and used to create new proteins in the body. They're used to build and repair tissue and muscles, provide structure to cell membranes, organs, hair, skin, and nails. They maintain pH balance and provide the building blocks for the body to produce enzymes and hormones. And finally, fats. Fats are broken down into fatty acids and glycerol, essential components of cell membranes, and they're used to store and maintain a steady supply of energy. And they're also used in the transport and absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. So the first one I'm going to discuss is carbohydrates. Most of this is based on two studies, Morgenthaler, Lindauer, Daniel Meisel in 2013. That's about sugars. And Gomez Pinilla in 2008, the effects of nutrients on brain function. The brain primarily relies on carbohydrates, specifically glucose, as its main source of energy. I'm going to highlight some of the processes here. Glucose is a simple sugar that is derived from the breakdown of dietary carbohydrates such as starches and sugars. The brain uses glucose to produce adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, which is the energy currency of cells. Once inside neurons, glucose undergoes glycolysis, the process that breaks it down into pyruvate, producing ATP and nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, or NADH. Glucose metabolism. Here's a summary of glycolysis. Glucose metabolism provides carbon skeletons for the synthesis of neurotransmitters. For example, glutamate, the primary excitatory neurotransmitter, is synthesized from a ketoglutamate, TCA cycle intermediate. That's by Hertz. Glucose is also essential in the synthesis of neurotransmitters such as glutamate and GABA, which is GABA aminobutyric acid. That's the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter. It's derived from glutamate via the enzyme glutamate decarboxylase. Inhibitory neurotransmitters play a crucial role in regulating neural activity. maintaining a balance in the brain and preventing overexcitation, which can lead to disorders such as seizures or anxiety. The next macronutrient I'm going to talk about is protein. The brain utilizes protein in a variety of crucial ways, including neurotransmitter synthesis, enzyme and receptor production, structural proteins, synaptic plasticity, memory, cellular repair, maintenance, and when glucose levels are low, protein can be used as a source of energy. The first thing I'm going to talk about is amino acids and neurotransmitter synthesis. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins and serve as precursors for neurotransmitters. The brain relies on a supply of specific amino acids to synthesize neurotransmitters such as serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. Tryptophan and tyrosine are highlighted in Fernstrom's study as particularly important because they are precursors for serotonin and dopamine, respectively. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter involved in mood regulation, appetite, and sleep, and tryptophan is the dietary precursor of serotonin. Increasing tryptophan levels in the brain can enhance serotonin production, which may improve mood and reduce symptoms of depression. And if you look at this slide, nuts are a really good source of tryptophan. Fernstrom's discusses Fernstrom's studies showing that tryptophan supplementation or diets high in tryptophan can increase brain serotonin levels. Through the effect, though the effect may vary depending on individual differences in baseline serotonin levels. The next neurotransmitter I'm going to talk about is tyrosine. Tyrosine is the precursor of dopamine and norepinephrine, neurotransmitters involved in reward, motivation, and stress response. The availability of tyrosine can influence the synthesis of these catecholamines, particularly under conditions of stress or high cognitive demand. Here's some foods in the slide high in tyrosine. Fernstrom also notes that tyrosine supplementation may improve cognitive performance and mood in stressful situations, but its effects are less pronounced under normal conditions. The composition of the diet, so protein versus carbohydrate content, can affect the plasma levels of tryptophan and tyrosine, and carbohydrate-rich meals increase insulin secretion, which promotes the uptake of BCAAs or branched chain amino acids into muscle tissue, thereby increasing the ratio of tryptophan to other LNAs, which are in the blood, enhancing tryptophan and entry into the brain. High protein meals, on the other hand, provide more tyrosine and other LNAs, which can favor dopamine and norepinephrine synthesis over serotonin. For example, tryptophan supplementation has been explored as a treatment for depression, while tyrosine supplementation has been studied for its effects on cognitive performance and stress resilience. However, this paper also cautions, this is Fernstrom's paper, that individual response to amino acid supplementation can vary and more research is needed to optimize dietary interventions for specific conditions. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is enzyme and receptor production. Proteins are essential in the production of enzymes and receptors that facilitate neuronal communication and metabolism. Most enzymes involved in neurotransmitter synthesis and regulation are protein and amino acid based. Receptors for neurotransmitters are also proteins that enable signals to pass across synapses, like in this slide, in the picture. Structural proteins provide structural support to neurons, maintaining their shape and facilitating intercellular transport. Myelin is a protein lipid complex that insulates axons and speeds up electrical signal transmission. Myelination is the process by which myelin forms a sheath around the axons of neurons. This sheath acts as insulation, allowing electrical impulses to transmit quickly and efficiently along nerve cells. Myelination is crucial for the proper functioning of the nervous system as it enhances the speed and accuracy of neural communication. The next thing I'm going to talk about is fats. Most of this is based on a study by Diol in 2015. According to this study by Simon Diol, the long-chain omega-3 fatty acids here's some of the foods with LC omega-3 fatty acids, particularly DHA, which is docosahexaenoic acid, and the EPA and more recently DPA are important in maintaining cognitive function. Those are the three most important omega-3 fatty acids: EPA, DPA, and DHA. So they're important in maintaining cognitive function, neuroprotection, and overall brain development. Omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, or PUFAs, have an important role in the brain structure, neurodevelopment, and cognitive function, neuroprotection, and mental health. So, the structural role in the brain. DHA is a major structural component of neuronal membranes, making up a significant portion of the brain's gray matter. It influences membrane fluidity, flexibility, and the function of membrane-bound enzymes and receptors. EP, on the other hand, while less abundant in the brain, plays a crucial role in anti-inflammatory processes and signaling pathways. Neurodevelopment. DHA plays a critical role during fetal and early postnatal brain development. Adequate maternal intake of omega-3 fatty acids is essential for optimal brain development in the fetus and infant. DHA is also involved in neurogenesis, synaptogenesis, and the formation of myelin sheaths, which are vital for efficient neuronal communication. Cognitive function. Evidence suggests that higher levels of DHA are associated with improved cognitive performance, including memory, attention, and problem-solving skills. Neuroprotection. So omega-3 fatty acids exhibit neuroprotective properties by reducing oxidative stress, inflammation, and apoptosis, which is programmed cell death in neuronal cells. It has anti-inflammatory effects, EPA in particular, in the context of neurodegenerative disease such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Omega-3 fatty acids are also really important for mental health. Omega-3 fatty acids have been linked to positive mental health outcomes, noting that deficiencies in DHA and EPA are associated with an increased risk of psychiatric disorders such as depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. Critical trials and observational studies suggest that omega-3 supplementation can have a positive impact on mood and emotional well-being. The next thing I want to discuss is micronutrients. The term micronutrients refers to vitamins and minerals, which can be divided into macrominerals, trace minerals, and water and fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamins are necessary for energy production, immune function, blood clotting, and a ton of other functions in the body. Meanwhile, minerals play important roles in growth, bone health, fluid balance, a ton of things. I'm going to be talking about B vitamins in particular and minerals and how they play a role in cognitive performance, neuroprotection, synaptic signaling, as well as learning and memory. So the first thing I want to talk about is B vitamins. Most of this is based on a paper by Kennedy, B vitamins in the brain, mechanisms, doses, and efficacy review. Here's some foods high in B vitamins. Here's some B1, thiamine, B2, riboflavin, niacin, peroxidine, pentathioic acid, biotin, folic acid, and cobalamin. So B vitamins comprise a group of 8 water-soluble vitamins, the ones I just read out, that perform essential, closely interrelated roles in cellular functioning. And according to a 2016 article by David Kennedy, B vitamins are essential for numerous biochemical processes in the brain, including energy production, DNA and RNA synthesis, and the synthesis of neurotransmitters such as serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. B vitamins play a critical role in the production of nucleotides, amino acids, and the regulation of gene expression. The next thing I want to talk about is homeocysteine. B vitamins are also involved in the homeocysteine metabolism and elimination. Elevated homeocysteine levels are associated with cognitive decline, neurodegeneration, and an increased risk of conditions like Alzheimer's disease. Folate, which is B9, and vitamin B12 and vitamin B6 are cofactors in the conversion of homeocysteine to methionine, a process critical for maintaining healthy homeocysteine levels. B vitamins also support myelin synthesis and repair, which is essential for proper nerve function and signal transmission. Evidence suggesting that B vitamin supplementation can slow cognitive decline, particularly in older adults with elevated homeocysteine levels, and that B vitamin supplementation can improve memory and reduce brain atrophy in individuals with mild cognitive impairment or early stage dementia. However, the efficacy of B vitamins in preventing or treating dementia in healthy individuals or those with advanced cognitive decline is less clear, according to that study. The next micronutrient I want to talk about is antioxidants. This is based on a study by Spencer Joseph, the 2009 study by James Joseph, Barbara Schuchat-Hale, and Lauren Willis, titled Grape Juice, Berries, and Walnuts Affect Brain Aging and Behavior, explores the impact of dietary interventions, specifically grape juice, berries, and walnuts, on brain aging, cognitive function, and the research is suggesting that oxidative stress and inflammation are key contributors to age-related cognitive decline and neurodegenerative disease, and investigates how polyphenol-rich foods can mitigate these effects. Here's some polyphenol, high in polyphenol foods that you can introduce into your diet. Oxidative stress and brain aging. So we got grape juice, berries, walnuts. The authors of the study highlight that aging is associated with increased oxidative stress and inflammation, which damage neurons and impair cognitive function, as well as development of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. The role of polyphenols polyphenols found in high concentrations in grape juice, berries, and walnuts are bioactive compounds with potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. These compounds can cross the blood-brain barrier, directly affecting brain health by reducing oxidative damage. So the first one I'm going to talk about is grape juice. Grape juice, particularly from Concord grapes, is rich in flavonoids like anthocyanins and proanthocyanidins. Flavonoids are plant compounds that give color to fruits, vegetables, and flowers. They have antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and anti-cancer properties. Animal studies cited in the paper show that grape juice supplementation improves memory and motor function in aged rats, likely due to reduced oxidative stress and enhanced neuronal signaling. The next thing I'm going to talk about is berries. Berries such as blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries are high in anthocyanins and other flavonoids. This study reports that berry consumption improves spatial memory and learning in animal models, possibly by enhancing neuroplasticity and reducing inflammation. Walnuts. So walnuts are a source of alpha-linoleic acid, an omega-3 fatty acid, and polyphenols. The study suggests that walnuts improve cognitive performance by reducing oxidative damage and improving membrane fluidity in brain cells. Walnuts also support synaptic plasticity, which is crucial for learning and memory. The study suggests that these three foods in particular work through, number one, antioxidant activity, neutralizing free radicals and reducing oxidative damage, anti-inflammatory effects, inhibiting pro-inflammatory cytokines and pathways, improve signaling, enhancing communication between neurons and supporting synaptic plasticity, neurogenesis, promoting the growth of new neurons in the hippocampus, a brain region critical for memory. The study by Joseph Hale and Willis suggests that dietary interventions with food high in antioxidants and polyphenols can positively impact brain aging and behavior. These foods help combat oxidative stress and inflammation, preserving cognitive function and reducing the risk of neurodegenerative diseases. The next micronutrient I'm going to talk about is minerals. And the first one, so minerals such as iron, zinc, and magnesium are crucial for brain development and function. These nutrients are involved in various brain processes, including neurotransmitter synthesis, myelination, and protection against oxidative stress. The study I'm referring to for most of this chapter is by Black, 2003, Micronutrient Deficiencies and Cognitive Functioning by the Journal of Nutrition. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is iron. Iron is vital for oxygen transport and energy production in the brain. Deficiencies can lead to impaired cognitive function, including attention, memory, and learning. Children and pregnant women are particularly vulnerable to iron deficiency, which can have long-term effects in cognitive development. The next mineral I'm going to talk about is iodine. These are some foods high in iodine. And iodine deficiency. Iodine is essential for thyroid hormone production, which regulates brain development. Severe iodine deficiency can result in cretinism, characterized by profound intellectual disabilities. Even mild to moderate deficiency can impair cognitive functions and reduce IQ levels. I believe that's why salt has been iodized. The next thing I'm going to talk about is zinc. Now, zinc plays a role in neurogenesis, synaptic plasticity, and immune function. Deficiencies can affect cognitive processes such as memory and learning. Zinc supplementation has been shown to improve cognitive performance in deficient populations. And I think the bottom line is minerals have a profound effect on cognitive function and development across different stages of life, and their deficiencies can be linked to a myriad of negative outcomes. The next thing I want to discuss is neuroplasticity. This is based on a few different studies. A 2015 study, long-chain omega-3 fatty acids in the brain by Diol in 2015. 2017, flavonoids and cognition, the molecular mechanisms underlying the behavioral effects by Spencer, Vazur, and Randiro. And a 2012 study, mind-altering microorganisms, the impact of gut microbia on the brain and behavior by Cryan and Dinan in 2012. Okay, so what is neuroplasticity? Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. This adaptability allows the brain to compensate for injury, disease, or changes in the environment, and to adjust its activities in response to new situations or information. This involves two key aspects: structural plasticity and functional plasticity. Structural plasticity involves physical changes in the brain, such as growth of new neurons, which is neurogenesis, and the formation of new synaptic connections between neurons. These changes can occur in response to learning, experience, or recovery from brain injury. Functional plasticity is the brain's ability to move functions from a damaged area to an undamaged area. For example, if one part of the brain is injured, another part may take over some of its functions. Neuroplasticity happens through a few different mechanisms. The first I'm going to talk about is synaptic plasticity. This is the ability of synapses, which are the connections between neurons, to strengthen or weaken over time in response to increases or decreases in their activity. Long-term potentiation and long-term depression are two key processes involved in synaptic plasticity. Simply put, the more you use a particular thought process or neural net, the stronger and more easily accessed these thoughts and memories become. Learning. Next is neurogenesis, the process by which new neurons are formed in the brain. This primarily occurs in the hippocampus, a region associated with learning and memory. The third is cortical remapping. When one area of the brain is damaged, another area can sometimes take over its function. This is often seen in stroke recovery, where unaffected parts of the brain take over functions of damaged areas. There are many factors that influence neuroplasticity, including age, experience, learning, and exercise, but I'm only here to discuss nutrition and how diet affects neuroplasticity. The first thing I'm going to talk about is omega-3 fatty acids. Pretty important to the brain. I'm going to discuss how neuroplasticity is affected by omega-3 fatty acids. So a 2015 study by Simon Diol, research on omega-3 fatty acids and neuroplasticity highlighted the significant role these essential fats play in brain health, particularly in the context of cognitive function, mood regulation, and neuroprotection. Omega-3 fatty acids, primarily EPA, DH, and DHA, are critical components of cell membranes and in the brain and are known to influence synaptic plasticity, neurogenesis, and inflammation. They enhance fluidity, which is critical for synaptic transmission and plasticity. Omega-3 fatty acids were shown to reduce oxidative stress and inflammation in the brain, and DHA in particular, was found to support the maintenance of neuronal integrity and promote the survival of neurons under stress. Omega-3s also influence neuroplasticity by modulating brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. That's a protein that supports the growth, differentiation, and survival of neurons. Omega-3s were also linked to improve outcomes in conditions like depression, bipolar disorder, and PTSD, partly due to their role in promoting neuroplasticity. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is polyphenols and bioflavonoids, and how they affect neuroplasticity. So the next nutritional factor I want to discuss is polyphenols and flavonoids. Flavonoids are a group of phytonutrients found in fruits and vegetables, chocolate, tea, and wine. They're known for their antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Study by Jeremy Spencer, David Vazor, and Katrina Rendero suggests that they are highly effective in reversing age-related declines in neurocognitive performance through their ability to interact with the cellular and molecular architecture of the brain responsible for memory, and by reducing neuronal loss due to neurodegenerative processes. They may increase the number of and strength of connections between neurons. Their effects on the cerebrovascular system may also lead to enhancements in cognitive performance through increased brain blood flow and the ability to initiate neurogenesis in the hippocampus. They've also been shown to reduce neuronal damage and losses induced by neuroinflammation. Together, these processes act to maintain the number and quality of synaptic connections in the brain, a factor known to be essential for efficient LTP, synaptic plasticity, and ultimately the efficient working of memory. The study reported that regular consumption of flavonoid-rich foods is associated with improved cognitive performance, particularly in older adults. This includes better memory, executive function, and processing speed. Flavonoids were also found to have potential protective effects against age-related cognitive decline and neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the gut-brain axis. In 2012, John Cryan and Timothy Deenan announced the concept of the gut-brain axis. This is a bidirectional communication system between the gastrointestinal tract and the central nervous system. They emphasize that this axis is not only mediated by neural pathways such as the vagus nerve, but also by endocrine, immune, and metabolic pathways. Gut microbia plays a crucial role in modulating this axis. This paper explores the profound influence that gut microbia, which is the community of microorganisms living in the digestive tract, has on the brain, on brain function, behavior, and mental health. This study suggests that gut bacteria produce neurotransmitters such as serotonin, dopamine, and gamma aminobutyric acid, or GABA, which can influence brain function and mood. And that the establishment of gut microbia during infancy is crucial for normal brain development. Disruptions in this process due to antibiotics or overly sterilized environments can lead to long-term behavioral and cognitive deficits. The microbiota also regulates the immune system, which in turn affects neuroinflammation and brain health. Cryan and Deenan discuss how the gut microbia can modulate the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or the HPA, which regulates stress response. Chronic stress is known to impair neuroplasticity, particularly in brain regions like the hippocampus involved in learning and memory. By influencing stress response, the gut microbiota can indirectly affect neuroplasticity, either by enhancing or impairing it, depending on the balance of microbial populations. This study discusses the importance of gut health in maintaining and enhancing the brain's adaptive capabilities and explores how modulating the gut microbiota through probiotics, prebiotics, or dietary changes could enhance neuroplasticity and improve mental health outcomes. So the next part I want to talk about is the connection between diet, mental health, and learning outcomes. So the studies I'm going to reference are LaSalle, Baghdadi, and Batty, 2019, Healthy Dietary Indices and Risk of Depressive Outcomes. Westover, Marangel, in 2002, a cross-national relationship between sugar consumption and major depression. And Adolphus, Lawton, and Dye, in 2013, the effects of breakfast on behavior and academic performance in children and adolescents. So most studies agree that healthy diets improve mental health. Diets rich in fruit, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats, for example, the Mediterranean diet, are associated with better health outcomes, including reduced symptoms of depression, anxiety, and stress. Unhealthy diets worsen mental health. Diets high in processed foods, sugar, and saturated fats are linked to increased risks of mental health disorders such as depression and anxiety. Nutrients like omega-3 fatty acids, B vitamins, zinc, and magnesium play a role in brain function, neurotransmitter regulation, and reducing inflammation, all of which influence mood and mental health. So the first thing I want to discuss is the Mediterranean diet. In 2019, Camille LaSalle, David Batty, and Amari Baghdadi authored a study titled Healthy Dietary Indices, the Risk of Depressive Outcomes, a systematic review and meta-analysis of observational studies. So this investigates the relationship between healthy diet patterns and the risk of depressive outcomes. This study is a review and analysis of observational studies aiming to provide a comprehensive understanding of how diet influences mental health, particularly depression. Healthy diets were defined as those emphasizing high intake of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, legumes, fish, and a low intake of processed foods, red meat, sugary beverages. And some of the key findings of this study were an inverse association between healthy diets and depression, a higher adherence to healthy dietary patterns, such as the Mediterranean diet, was associated with a significantly reduced risk of depressive outcomes, up to 24% reduction in the risk of depression among individuals with the highest adherence to healthy diets compared to those with the lowest adherence. These findings were consistent across different types of observational studies and showed the protective effect of healthy diets was observed in both men and women, though some studies suggest a slightly stronger association in women. The study hypothesized that the protective effect of healthy diets on depression could be due to, number one, anti-inflammatory products of nutrient-rich foods, higher levels of antioxidants, such as vitamins B and D, minerals such as magnesium and zinc that support brain health, and improved gut microbiota diversity, which has been linked to mental health outcomes. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is sugar. A 2002 study by Arthur Westover and Lauren Marangel titled A Cross-National Relationship Between Sugar Consumption and Major Depression explores the potential link between sugar intake and the prevalence of major depression across different countries. The study used statistical methods to examine the correlation between sugar consumption and depression rates across countries. They controlled for potential confounding factors such as economic development, urbanization, and other dietary patterns. This study found a significant positive correlation between sugar consumption and the prevalence of major depression. Countries with higher per capita sugar consumption tended to have higher rates of major depression and remain consistent. And this remained consistent even after controlling for variables, suggesting that sugar consumption might independently contribute to depression risk. The authors proposed several mechanisms to explain this. The first one being high sugar intake can lead to fluctuations in blood glucose levels, which may affect brain function and mood regulation. Sugar consumption can influence neurotransmitter systems such as serotonin and dopamine, which are implicated in depression. 3, excessive sugar intake is associated with systemic inflation, which has been linked to the development of depressive disorders. And excessive sugar intake is associated with systemic inflation, which has been linked, oh, sorry, did that twice. The findings suggest that dietary interventions, particularly reducing sugar intake, could be beneficial for preventing or managing depression. The next thing I examined was the relationship between breakfast and learning. In 2013, Katie Adolphus, Claire Lawton, and Louise Dye authored a study on the effects of breakfast on behavior and academic performance in children and adolescents. This study reviews the relationship between breakfast consumption and cognitive behavior and academic outcomes in children. They conducted a review of studies published up to 2013, focusing on children and adolescents aged 2 to 18. Both observational studies, cross-sectional surveys, for example, and experimental studies, randomized controlled trials, were included. Cognitive performance was assessed using standardized tests, while academic performance was measured through school grades or standardized test scores. Behavioral outcomes were evaluated using teacher or parent reports. What this study found was that breakfast consumption was consistently associated with improvements of memory. Both short-term, long-term memory performance were better in children who ate breakfast. Attention, breakfast eaters showed better sustained attention and reduced errors in attention-based tasks and executive function. So tasks requiring planning, problem solving, and cognitive flexibility were performed better by those who consumed breakfast. And higher standardized test scores in math and reading. Improved school grades and overall academic achievement were also noticed, as well as improved mood and reduced irritability. Fewer behavioral problems such as aggression and hyperactivity, and better school attendance. These effects were more pronounced in undernourished or low socioeconomic status children. The benefits of breakfast were contributed to improved glucose availability to the brain, which is critical for cognitive function. Provisions of essential nutrients, so iron, iodine, B vitamins that support brain development and function, and reduction in hunger-related distractions and stress. The study concluded that breakfast consumption has a significant positive impact on cognitive function, academic performance, and behavior in children and adolescents. The study concluded that breakfast consumption, healthy diet in particular, one rich in whole foods, omega-3 fatty acids, and essential. Okay, so wait. The next thing I'm going to talk about is dietary recommendations. Healthy diet, particular one rich in whole foods, omega-3 fatty acids, and essential nutrients, is associated with better mental health outcomes, including reduced risk of depression and anxiety. Proper nutrition, so omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants. Okay. Proper nutrition, okay, depression and anxiety. Proper nutrition supports cognitive function, attention, and memory, which are crucial and critical for the academic performance. Poor diet, especially in children, can negatively impact Learning and behavior. Addressing nutritional deficiencies and promoting healthy eating habits can improve both mental well-being and learning outcomes. Uh, so I'm going to conclude this presentation with a few actionable dietary recommendations that will allow you to get the most out of your brain, support cognitive and mental health, and support your overall well-being. The first being omega-3 fatty acids. So my first recommendation is to incorporate omega-3 rich fatty fish, omega-3 rich omega-3 fatty acids, DHA, EPA, and DPA support brain health, memory, and cognitive function. Eating fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, or trout 2 to 3 times per week, or adding canned tuna or anchovies to salads or sandwiches for convenience, and eating algae-based omega-3 supplements if you don't eat fish will improve your overall mental health and cognitive function. So, snacking on berries, nuts, and seeds. Berries are rich in antioxidants like flavonoids, which protect the brain from oxidative stress and improve communication between brain cells. Nuts and seeds provide healthy fats, vitamin E, antioxidants, which can also support brain health. Include a handful of blueberries, strawberries, or blackberries or raspberries daily. Add them to oatmeal, yogurt, or smoothies. You can use frozen berries as a convenient, affordable option if you can't find fresh berries due to your location or the time of year. Eat a small handful, about 1 ounce of walnuts, almonds, pistachios, or sunflower seeds daily, or you can add chia seeds, flax seeds, or hemp seeds to smoothies, oatmeal, or salads. Enjoy dark chocolate in moderation or as a sweet snack. Dark chocolate, 70% cocoa or higher, contains flavonoids, caffeine, and antioxidants that boost focus and mood. You should have 1 to 2 small squares of dark chocolate as an occasional treat, but avoid milk chocolate or sugary varieties. Choose whole grains for a steady supply of energy. Whole grains provide a complex of carbohydrates, fiber, and B vitamins, which support brain energy and focus. Choose whole grains like oats, quinoa, brown rice, barley, anything whole grain bread. Start your day with oatmeal topped with berries and nuts. Replace refined grains such as white bread or pasta with whole grain alternatives. You can load up on leafy greens, which are rich in brain protective nutrients like vitamin K, folate, and lutein. You can include spinach, kale, Swiss chard, or arugula in salads, smoothies, or cooked dishes. Aim for at least 1 to 2 servings daily, which would be about a cup raw or a half cup cooked of leafy green vegetables. Include eggs for B vitamins. Eggs are a great source of choline and B vitamins, which support memory and brain development. Eat eggs for breakfast, boiled, scrambled, or as an omelet with veggies. Aim for 3 to 7 eggs a week, depending on your dietary preference. The next thing would be to avoid excess sugars, trans fats, and processed foods. These can lead to inflammation, brain fog, or long-term cognitive decline. Limit sugary drinks, candies, and desserts, and avoid processed snacks like chips, cookies, and fast food. Read labels to avoid trans fats and look for partially hydrogenated oils. Finally, here are some additional tips to help you with your cognitive health. Exercise regularly, as physical activity boosts blood flow to the brain and enhances cognitive function. Try to get enough sleep. Sleep is essential for memory, consolidation, brain repair, and neurological processes such as myelination, which is the installation of the myelin sheath, allowing faster communication between neurons. This is a whole other presentation, but I believe a holistic approach to health will benefit every function and process in your body, including cognitive and mental health. Making conscious food choices to fuel our brains Our brain function, development, and repair will enhance your ability to learn and grow, as well as maintaining good mental health for years to come. The end.